Hello, everyone, and good day to you. This is Roger with Groovis Games Unlimited, and welcome back to our next showcase series video. As always, thank you for your time and interest. I love hanging out with you, and today's video is going to be a special one, and I think by the end of this, you are going to see a heck of a lot what Dungeon Crusade has to offer. As the title said, we're going to explore the unique scenario system that I created for the game. And it's not your run-of-the-mill. A lot of people ask me this. Exactly what is this? Is there like a campaign? And this is not like a run-of-the-mill type of campaign. You know, when I created this game, it was about just breaking the mold and giving fellow gamers something different. So I think you're going to enjoy every part of this video. And again, by the end of it, you are going to see just the plethora of options and mods and variants and everything you can tweak and adjust in Dungeon Crusade to create the game session that you want. But before we get started here, I really want to thank everyone out there for your likes. And I have received some really nice messages from people, and I just want you to know from the heart, that makes me feel really good. Yes, I'm going to put a few of you on the spot. Israel, thank you for your messages. You know, I'm glad you found out about the game, and I'm glad you're enjoying the series. And of course, our new friend Jason. Yes, Jason, I'm putting you on the spot. Thank you for your very kind words, and I'm enjoying chatting with you. So you guys are in for a really awesome video. So let's get going with this, all right? We are going to look at the scenario. Well, this is the scenario book for Dungeon Crusade. But kind of zoning in and back to our familiar scenario 1, Into the Depths. So what we're going to do in this video is go over all of this. Now, I know when you look at this, it's almost like, oh my gosh, what's going on? I don't get this. This is complex. This is not complex, guys. And again, by the end of the video, you're going to get this like that. I don't like complex things. This is very easy, but we're going to go over each thing here quickly and discuss all of this. Plus, I'm going to show you some mods, some variants. If you want a quicker game, if you want to tweak the game with less heroes than the standard 6 heroes that you play with, you can play with as little as 3, or if you want to play Mega Dungeon Crusade with 10, 12, or 10, 11, 12 heroes, that's possible, or anything in between. So let us get started with the scenario system. Before we begin, I want to start with this for you and introduce you to the initiative tokens. I know you probably saw those in the other videos, but the standard way to play Dungeon Crusade is with 6 heroes. And in the base game, or either edition of the game, you get the Knight hero, Sir Brennus, the Barbarian Mahaliak, our Cleric Faith, our Archer Enwin, our Rogue Palum, and Zeke, our Wizard. You always use Albus, that is your fetch hound, and we're going to have a video in the showcase series just for Albus. So the standard way to play Dungeon Crusade is with 6 heroes, and like many of you know, I love Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale. So in that game you control 6 heroes, and like Might and Magic too, and Wizardry, you control 6 heroes. In Dungeon Crusade you can control 6 heroes, but because of all the different things you're going to see in this video, and this is a big thing, remember something: you don't have to play with 6 heroes. You can play with 5 heroes. You can play with 4 heroes if you want. You could play with 3 heroes you want. I wouldn't recommend playing with only 2, but I'm going to have a short video after this. There's a brand new mode that I created called Solo Crusader. This is when you can select 1 hero. You of course take your trusty fetch hound Albus with you, and there's a new mercenary camp in the village where you can hire up to 2 mercenaries to help your hero out. And again, I'm very grateful. That mode, especially, the game really took off with that when people found out that you can just play with 1 hero. So I'll just have a short video after this just to chat about that, but just know that there's this new mode in the game called the Solo Crusader mode. So through all the things I'm about to show you in the scenario system, you can adjust everything so you can play with this amount of heroes. let me show you something else. Okay, and let me introduce you to our expansion heroes. And notice there's initiative tokens 7 through 12. So let's go over these quickly. Here is our Bard hero, Matari. This is a very awesome hero with some great special abilities. Here is Carrick, the Paladin hero, Jorah, the Priestess, Lyrena, the Battle Mage hero. Over here is Korith, the Warlock, and finally here is Kane, Redfeather, the Ranger. So there's 12 heroes in total, well, 13 if you count Alvis. And this is what I was saying. You could actually play Mega Dungeon Crusade with 10, 11, or 12 heroes. Yes, that's something real. And I know my very, very good friend Paul is watching right now. And I wanted to do a playthrough of Mega Dungeon Crusade when everything is all wrapped up, of course, but he may beat me to it because he was going to play Mega Dungeon Crusade. So Paul, if you do, I will gladly promote that. So these are the expansion heroes. If there's an add-on for this, or you get it, of course, in the Slayer of the Realm. But my point for showing you these new heroes is you could play, I'm not going to move these, but if you want to play with 7 heroes, you can. You want to play with 8 heroes, 9 heroes, 10, so on and so forth. So I just wanted to go over this quickly because I don't think a lot of people knew that you can modify as many heroes as that you can play with in Dungeon Crusade. But the standard way is with 6 heroes. And if some of you are thinking that sounds very cumbersome, it's truly not. When we get into, actually the next video will be the 5 phases of the game. And I'm sure Paul or someone who's played it could tell you, it's a very, very streamlined process. It goes quite quickly. So the next video, I just want to chat with you about the Solo Crusader mode, and then we'll be moving on. I wanted to chat with you about this brand new game mode called Solo Crusader. If there's one thing I have been asked a lot over the past few years is, can you play Dungeon Crusade with 1 hero? So I'm happy to say yes, that is now available. There's a rule set in the description if you'd like to take a look at it, and the rule set is of course within the newly revised Dungeon Crusade rulebook. But in a nutshell, you get to select 1 hero and of course your fetch hound Alvis, and you can hire now up to 2 mercenaries from the brand new mercenary camp in the village. This plays a little bit differently. It's a much faster paced game, and this takes advantage of the brand new revised combat system. This mode was incredibly well received, and I just want to say to everyone, thank you. I'm so grateful to you for this. I think a lot of people are going to be playing it this way. So you can now play with a group of heroes or the new Solo Crusader mode. And I hope you enjoyed that little video over the Solo Crusader mode. And again, thank you for all the nice comments that have come in over the past months on that mode. There were so many people happy to see that, where you can select 1 hero, have your fetch hound, and of course hire a mercenary or 2 to go along with your hero on their journey. But hopefully you can see now from just what we discussed, you can modify Dungeon Crusade with as many heroes as you want to play with. I wouldn't go lower than 3 unless you're playing Solo Crusader mode. But through all these options we're going to discuss now, that's what I was talking about. So say you're going to play with 4 heroes. You can tweak and adjust all of this over the 6 different difficulties so it will match the number of heroes that you're going to play with. And here is that familiar scenario Into the Depths. So we'll be using this to go over. If you've kept up with the series, a lot of this is going to be familiar to you. But when we get to the seeding, instead of going over that for maybe new people, I will definitely say just go ahead and check out that video on the seeding, how to seed the dungeon. Okay, so let's get started at the top. Okay, and right here at the top, of course, it just says Scenario 1 and the title, Into the Depths. And when I put all this together, I would just put a certain monster from the game over here. And over here, since you saw the map of Avalon, this tells you what village your heroes are defending. So in this case, they're defending the village of Witherbrook. Over here is the setup story I wrote, And again, remember we talked about all the different characters in the story that I created for Dungeon Crusade. So this girl right here is Ren Osis, and she is a very fierce, legendary hero in Dungeon Crusade. So she's kind of just greeting your heroes and telling them the situation of what's going on. And just there's a point of interest on the map of Avalon. There's a, so you know, I got really into this game, but there's a little place, and actually I'll show it to you on the map real quick, called Ren's Crossing. And there, I won't say where, I won't spoil it, but there was a famous battle that took place that Ren was in. So again, when you're playing the game and Avalon Adventure board game and through the quest, you'll learn like little things like that. Again, part of the world building and lore I put into the game for you. So we'll take a look at that and then we will move on. So that's what this top section is. And here's that place in Avalon right here, Ren's Crossing. And so if you kind of picture it, we're here in Witherbrook, so that's south of Witherbrook. So you'll enjoy learning about this little story of what happened here. Okay, let's move on to the next entry on the scenario page. Okay, and like I said, if you're keeping up with the series, this will be very familiar to you. Here are the quests that you're going to pull for this scenario. And remember, we'll go over to the Dungeon UI board and look at the quest tables. Here's quest table 1, green crystal, level 1 quests. Quest table 2, yellow, level 2 quest. And finally, quest table 3, red is level 3 quest. And there's those familiar little icons there. So there is, red is your main quest, blue is a side quest, and the kill the guardians, which we're going to be discussing here on the scenario page. So if you have not seen that yet, go ahead and just backtrack a little bit and watch that, and we go over this quite in depth. So before we move on, I'll show you that, but remember, you're going to pull these quest cards for the main and side quest, and the kill the guardians is the quota you want to set. So you want to kill 1 guardian per quest table, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7 or 8, and we'll discuss that. So let's shoot over to the Dungeon UI board just so you can see that real quick. And just like we saw in the scenario book, here's quest table 1 with the main quest, side quest, kill the guardians, quest table 2, quest table 3. So hopefully you can see this game is not complex at all. And in the middle, of course, is Celebration Day, and we will have a video dedicated to that. That's when the heroes, after they complete their quest, they're going to go to the village for Celebration Day. Okay, our next entry here is the dungeon. Tells you what dungeon board you're going to be using. Of course, we're using the Ancient Runes, and that says Ancient Runes there. Moving down to here. Now, like I've said many times, you don't have to follow this. There's kind of, in a way, no right way to play Dungeon Crusade. If you want to modify any of this, please feel free to. So, heroes starting gold. Notice what these dice mean. This is a good starting off point for what we're going to discuss over here with the other dice symbol. You're going to use the D3 that comes with Dungeon Crusade. So you could either just select this, each hero rolls 1 D3 and times the result by 100 for their starting gold. So you could do that, or if you want, you could just have the hero start out with 300 gold or 200 gold or give them 400 gold. So, but this is like the standard way to play, but always feel free to tweak that to what you want. Next entry is each hero receives 100 gold, or if you really wanted hard, so these are almost like difficulties. The heroes start with no gold. And actually, hindsight 2020, to be completely candid with you, I wish going back I would have had a fourth option where the heroes start with 300 gold. So if you're watching this video and you're getting the game, I think to start off with, I would recommend just giving each of your heroes 300 gold. And the reason is, as you may know, there's a shopping phase before you play Dungeon Crusade. So they'll be in the village and they can pull their gold together to buy weapons, torches, potions, a blessing from the temple. So I would recommend starting off with just giving each hero 300 gold. But this little die symbol, and we're going to get into it, it's actually one of the game modes, and it's a pretty crazy game mode. You're going to roll a D3, and you're going to have a separate piece of paper so you can jot all this down. But what this does is it creates a random game for you, and there are some pretty crazy things that can happen when you use the random game mode. So if you ever want to use that, you're going to roll a d3. Or if you could use, like I said, I wish there was another entry there where you just give the heroes 300 gold. You could roll a d4 and just have 4 as each hero gets 300 gold. So that's actually one of the game modes right there. So we'll move on to the next part. Okay, and that was the last video that we finished up in the series. For the seeding process, that is a lot to go over. So if you're new here, I would encourage you to go watch that video on seeding the dungeon. It's a very cool part of Dungeon Crusade, but it would be a lot to discuss here. So go ahead and watch that video if you haven't seen it. But for all you Crusaders out there who have seen this, you know what this is, and it's a very cool feature for the scenario system, okay? Let's move on. Okay, next up here is the Bazaar inventory. And what I'm about to show you, it's going to follow suit with everything we're going to talk about. So you're going to learn about the dice, the difficulty levels, and the 3 different game modes. So once I explain this, everything is going to fall in place when we discuss the other things. Bazaar inventory, we're going to shoot over to our village board in a moment. So notice there's healing potions, elixir potions, ochre juice, and torches. Let's go over those real quick for you. The healing potions, and this says this on the back on all the tokens, when your hero consumes a healing potion, they can restore 6 health. If your hero has an affliction in the game, remember there's 1st degree and 2nd degree afflictions. Once they quaff down an elixir, that cures them of all afflictions. The ochre juice potions, heroes will be using their essence bar on the bottom of their hero card, and since we have it right here, I'll just show you. Down here is the essence track. So essence is used when you want to use a special ability that your hero has. You know, there's going to be a certain cost. It might be 2 essence, 3 essence, 4 essence, but all special abilities go up to level 3. So the more powerful the special ability, of course, the more essence it's going to consume. Ochre juice basically restores that, so it's kind of way like health. And on the back of that, it'll say restore 6 essence. So that's what that is. Finally, torches. Torches give your heroes a +2 to their base movement, okay? And lastly, after we discuss this, we'll go over and I'll show you the Bazaar in the village. So let's discuss this now, about these numbers and these dice. Notice there's a difficulty here. Novice, easy, normal, hard, expert, and master. So the 3 different game modes is this. If you want to, I'd recommend starting off, you're going to fill the Bazaar with this many healing potions. So let's just say we're going to play a novice, which I'm going to highly recommend. The Bazaar is going to have 8 healing potions. It's going to have 8 elixir potions. You're going to stock the Bazaar with 8 ochre juice potions, and finally there's going to be 10 torches available on novice. Okay? So as you can see, moving up on easy, it's going to be a little bit less. 7 healing potions, 7 elixir, 7 ochre juice, and 9 torches. See, easy. So on and so forth. On normal, there's only going to be 6 healing potions, 6 elixir, so on and so forth. So you can see as the difficulty goes up, if you want to challenge yourself, there is less of these potions and torches available at the Bazaar. Very easy. So basically during setup, what are we going to do if we're on novice? You're going to take 8 of the healing potion tokens, stock the Bazaar, so on and so forth. 8 elixir potions, put them over in the Bazaar. 8 ochre juice potions, put them in the Bazaar, and finally 10 of the torches, and put those in the Bazaar. Super, super easy. Now, that's the first game mode. So the first game mode is you just go right down here and you're going to stock the Bazaar inventory with that many. The second game mode is mix and match difficulty. So, you know, if you want to challenge yourself, well, you know what, I want 8 healing potions and maybe 6 elixir potions, 7 ochre juice, and maybe only 6 torches. So you can mix and match difficulties. So that's what I mean just from this. Now when we talk about everything else, you're going to get what this system is. There's just, hopefully you can see there's just so much you can do with the scenario system. Finally, the dice here. Remember how we were discussing the gold? This is the third and final mode is randomly generate the game you're going to play, and it will do some pretty crazy stuff. So what you're going to do is you're just going to get a separate piece of paper and just jot down, healing potion, elixir, so on and so forth. You're going to take a d6 for healing potions and you're going to roll. Whatever value comes up, you're going to consult that below it. So let's say 4 came up. Okay, there's only going to be 5 healing potions in the bazaar. We roll, 6 comes up for elixir. There's only going to be 3, so on and so forth. So this is like a random generator for, how much you want to stock in the bazaar. You'll never know. So it kind of, you're letting fate decide the game you're going to play. That is going to follow suit what we talked about with all of the other entries here. So that's a good starting point, and hopefully you got that down. If you have any questions, just throw them in the comments, but it's as simple as that, guys. So that's what I was saying. When you look at this, it looks complex, but from what I just explained, you can see it's not very hard. So let's shoot over to the bazaar just so you can get what this looks like over there. Okay, and here we are on the village board, and hopefully you can make that out. Here is the bazaar. And just like I said, there's your healing potions, elixir potions, ochre juice, and your torches. Let me show you so basically when your hero puts in his backpack, it's unlit. You can declare anytime during hero phase, you know what, I want to light my torch. It's a free action, and so when it's lit, they have +2 to movement. But as you're going to see in the next video, for the 5 phases that comprise the turn, during the upkeep phase, you're going to have to roll on your torch. So if basically a 1 or 2 comes up, your torch goes out and you're going to have to extinguish it, and it goes off to the side, and we're going to discuss that in a moment real quick. And right here is the prices for everything. Basically everything is 100 gold. And just let me throw this out there now for you. After your hero, let's use a healing potion, and right there you can see on the back it says regain 6 health when consumed. When you use one, you're going to set it over here to the side of the village board. Okay, just put it on your table. So during celebration day, that's when your heroes level up. When we talked about they complete the quest, basically you're going to refresh the bazaar with those used potions and torches. So you're going to place them back in. So just figure the bazaar has new stock during celebration day. So that's how that mechanic works. Very, very easy. So remember, anytime you use any of these consumables here, you're going to set them aside. As my camera was moving a bit, you're just going to set them aside until the first celebration day, and then the bazaar is, think of it has been restocked. And that's as simple as that is. Okay, let's move on to the next entry in the scenario book. Okay, and the next entry on the scenario page is the blacksmith inventory. And we're going to be getting the loot cards here in a minute, but let's go over a few things first. Let me draw your attention to these colored gems right here. So we have this white one, and that stands for common gear in the loot deck. So white is common. Moving down, green represents uncommon gear. The blue gem represents rare gear. The purple gem represents epic gear. And finally, the orange gem represents legendary gear. So I'm going to get the loot cards here, but notice, and just like we talked about up here, we have the novice difficulty, easy, normal, so on and so forth. So if you're going to play on novice, you can see there's going to be a lot of items available in the blacksmith inventory. As you go up in difficulty, it's going to be more scarce and harder to come by. And that's simply what that is. That's how many cards or loot cards you are going to populate the blacksmith shop in the village at the start of the game or during setup. Let me get the loot cards and all that should fall into place. So we are about to populate the blacksmith shop in the village, but there's a few things we have to discuss, and hopefully you did catch some of those videos earlier in the series because this will be very familiar to you. Let's go over this real quick. There's 193 pieces of unique loot in Dungeon Crusade, and there is 9 different rarities. So let's go over those real quick. There's junk loot here, Here are the hero's starting weapons, and you can tell by that dull gray gem in the corner. So that's starting weapons. Here is that common gear, and notice at the top there's that crystal. So common white gear, green uncommon gear. Coming over here, here is the rare gear with the blue gem. Here is the epic gear with the purple gem. Here is the legendary gear with the orange gem. Here is fabled gear and the underworld artifacts. So let me point something out right off the bat. When you're going to populate the blacksmith shop, you're going to remove the junk loot deck. Just set that aside for now. And of course, you're going to remove the hero's starting weapons. So you're not going to need this either. The next thing you're going to take out is the underworld artifacts. And we'll have a video dedicated to this. These are the most deadly and most powerful weapons in Dungeon Crusade, but also deadly towards your heroes. It's going to be an interesting video when we talk about the underworld artifacts. So we're left with these 6. Like I said, and hopefully if you caught the other videos, in the story I wrote for Dungeon Crusade, I created just a huge cast of different characters and heroes and villains and everything. This is known as fabled gear. There's 10 pieces. There's 2 pieces for each of those rarities: white, green, blue, purple, and orange. So these weapons belong to the characters in the story of Dungeon Crusade. They carry a high gold cost and they're quite powerful. But you're going to notice like the gold axe setting on like right here on the scroll around the gem. So there's 2 for each one. What I want you to do is you're going to take these, like the 2 white ones, go ahead and place them on the common deck. So you're going to mix those in there. Take the 2 green ones, put those on your uncommon deck. The 2 blue ones for your rare, 2 purple for your epic, and finally the 2 legendary for your legendary deck. Okay, so now we're ready to populate the blacksmith shop. Okay, and I just tidied up everything here a little bit. So we have our common, uncommon, rare, epic, and legendary. So let's go back to our scenario page, and all this should fall in place now. Here's the blacksmith inventory. So let's say we're just going to play a novice, and this is what I would recommend you starting out with. We can see the blacksmith shop is going to be very plentiful with all this different type of gear for all the rarities. Well, it's going to be kind of light with legendary. So picture it like this. This is a very rich village that when it has a lot of weapons, but if you want to challenge yourself, the more it goes up, you can think of it like the village is maybe poor. It doesn't have a lot of, gear to sell. So that's what those difficulties are for. And just like we said, you could use the one game mode where it'll just randomly generate everything for you. So let's just take novice difficulty. So what this means is we're going to take the common deck and we're going to randomly draw 16 cards to populate his shop over in the village. So we'll take this step by step. So we're going to shuffle the common deck and draw 16 cards at random. So let's get our common deck. Just going to give them a quick shuffle for now. And of course, you don't look at these when you're doing this. And so we're going to count up just real quick 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, okay? So we have those 16 cards like it says here on our scenario page for novice difficulty. So let's go over to the village and we'll discuss the rest of it over there. Okay, here we are in the village or on the village board. This is the blacksmith shop. And just like we discussed, here is common gear, uncommon, rare, epic, and legendary. So what you're going to do is you're going to take those 16 cards that we just randomly we shuffled and drew them. Now here's the important thing. You are allowed to look at these and you're going to place them in the common section here of his shop. And some players, there was a misconception that you had to leave them down and you had to draw one. That's not the case. Picture this like at a medieval shop. You could go in and you can browse through all the weapons. So we can see now this is what was drawn from the common deck. So just remember, when you're playing, you don't have to put these face down and just draw the top. You are free to pick all of these up and equip your heroes with what you see fit. And there's Luke's training sword, so that's a piece of Fable gear that showed up, and Mallory's golden bow. So we're going to put those there. And we won't do all of these, I'll just make it quick, but we'll go back over there and we'll get the uncommon deck, and I'll just quickly populate everything. So I'll meet you back over there. Okay, so we just populated the blacksmith shop with the common gear, so now we're going to go down to uncommon, and like it says, we're going to draw 14 cards randomly, and so on and so forth. Of the rare, 12, epic, 10, and legendary, 6. So I'm just going to do this now, and I'm not going to go through each one and take up all your time with that. But then once I do that, we're going to go back over to the village board so I can show you that. Then I'm going to show you what you're going to do with all the rest of the extra cards that are left. So let me count these out, and I'll meet you back over at the village board. Okay, so I drew all those cards, and now the blacksmith shop is populated. And just as a reminder, so I drew, we drew 16 of those common, 14 uncommon, 12 rare, 10 epic, and 6 legendary. And that's what is in those stacks. And remember that you can look through those. You don't got to have to take the top card. If you're just picture you're browsing through a medieval shop, so you can go through all of it and find the gear that you want for your heroes. Okay, so let's go back over to those decks, and let me show you what the last step you do for the blacksmith inventory.